Joseph's brothers have now gone back to Egypt. They're ready to go back. It says, but the famine continued to ravage. It means to just consume, make barren the land of Canaan. And when the grain they had brought, it was corn, that they had brought from Egypt was almost gone, there wasn't much left, Jacob said to his sons, go back and buy us a little more food. Verse 3. But Judah said, the man, he's talking about Joseph in Egypt, he said that man was serious when he warned us, you won't see my face again unless your brother is with you. He was very serious, and he was talking or speaking of Benjamin, the youngest son. Verse 4 says, if you send Benjamin with us, we will go down and buy more food. So how do you think Jacob felt? Oh, okay. No, he was scared. He probably wanted to say no. So verse 5 says, but if you don't let Benjamin go, we won't go either. Because they're also scared to go back to Joseph and him not see Benjamin and ask why they were returning. So they were fearful as well. So remember, the man said, you won't see my face again unless your brother is with you. Jacob was very grieved. He moaned, why were you so cruel to me? Jacob moaned. Why didn't Jacob go with them?
No.
Maybe he was too old to travel. Maybe he couldn't see well. So traveling would be hard. You know, there wasn't any nice highways to drive on at that time. It was hot. From Egypt to Canaan, how far is that? Or a distance? I'm not sure. I don't know.
Wat uit about it?
I have no idea. A few days, I'm sure. So verse 6 says, why were you so cruel to me? And Jacob moaned. Jacob asked, why did you tell him, that man, you had another brother? In verse 7, the brothers are replying, and they said, the man kept asking us questions about our family, they replied. He asked, is your father still alive? Do you have another brother? So we answered his questions. So how could we know he would say, bring your brother down here? You know, they didn't just freely give the information. They were asked, so they answered the questions. You know, they had not expected Joseph to say to bring your younger brother. So, are you talking about Joseph? Talking about the father, Jacob. You think he was suspicious? No, I think he was upset because he had told that Benjamin had not gone. He wanted to know why they told him. Joseph already knew he had a younger brother. I don't know. They don't know anything that it's Joseph yet. So Jacob was questioning why they told them. Why? No, he was just upset. He didn't understand. Like sometimes, husband and wife sometimes will argue. Why did you say that? Well, I didn't mean to tell him, but why would you say that? Well, they asked me, so I kind of told them. You're telling the truth. So that's what he's talking about. So verse 8. Judah said to his father, "Send the boy with me, and we will be on our way. Otherwise, if we do not go, we will all die from starvation. Not only we, but you and our little ones." They were concerned. First reason was because Jacob, Joseph, wanted to see the younger son, but also that the rest of them would die of starvation. So there's no real choice here, right? So he had to let him go. So Judah said, "I guarantee or promise his safety, and you can hold me responsible if I don't bring him back. Then let me bear the blame forever." So that's what Judah had said. And it says, if we hadn't wasted all this time, we could have already gone and returned twice by now. They kept saying they were wasting time. Everybody's following? So remember, Jacob wanted control. He didn't want him to go. But now he recognized Jacob changed his mind and had to give up control, and he had to trust God's providence. That God would take care and provide what was needed. He was always involved. Sometimes we feel in situations that are awful that we face, and we don't know what to do when we fumble, but God is there. We know that we can depend on Him, and He will take care, regardless of the situation. Maybe it's a horrible situation, or a situation where you feel stuck, but know that you can depend on Him. Many times we forget, we try to control, we get upset, we get grieved, but we must remember that God is in control. And Jacob finally said to them, if it can't be avoided, then at least do this. Talking about, having to take Benjamin to Egypt. Then go ahead and do it. And Jacob now seems to be trusting God, and he says, pack your bags with the best products of this land and take them down to the man as gifts. Balm, honey, honey gum, aromatic resin, pistachio nuts, and almonds. So now if you've noticed here, there's this list. Pistachios, almonds, gum, resin. They have a variety of things, but no food, no grain, no corn. So it shows that we are spiritually poor, and we can't depend on the things that we have. And those things, worldly things, don't help us. Maybe you have a nice car, or you have a strong house, or you have various things, but where's your food? You have to have food, which is a basic need. Water is a basic need. Priority is food, yeah, basic need. All the rest of it is not. We can't depend on things of the world. For our spiritual needs to be satisfied. Our spiritual needs satisfaction comes from spiritual food, depending on God, and growing and maturing in the Lord. That's our spiritual food. The things that we have are not satisfying. So Jacob has this list of things, but he doesn't have the basic food. So it's just like us, we need spiritual food. So verse 12. So Jacob said, also take double the money that was put back in your sacks, as it was probably someone else's mistake. You know, they got $10 in a sack. Now he says, take back how much? And put it back in the sack. Maybe somebody made a mistake by putting it in there. So the point was, why did Jacob tell him to put back double? Why? Because Joseph told them all to come back, and he knew the family, talking about kindness and giving. No, Jacob doesn't know that it's Joseph. So why did Jacob want to give him double the money? Maybe he was hoping or hopeful that the man in Egypt would be touched that you brought back double the money. So Simon, was in prison. And Benjamin, maybe Jacob wanted to just make sure, give him all these things in the hopes that the man would be touched and let his 2 sons return. Jacob, that might have been the reason why Jacob was afraid. So verse 13, it says, then take your brother and go back to the man. It says, may God Almighty give you mercy as you go before the man, so that he will release Simeon and let Benjamin return. May God Almighty give you, he's talking about depending on God. Before, Jacob was worried, depressed. He needed to look back to the Lord and depend on him, knowing that he could not control and that God would take care. Just like we experience that sometimes. The things that we go through, we have to give it to God and know that we're not in control. So it says, but if I must lose my children, so if I truly lose my 2 sons, he said, so be it. So there's King James Version, it says, so be it means I will be grieved. More, what can I do? So be it. The father said that. If I am to lose, if I truly lose my 2 sons, then so be it. Meaning, I will be grieved. So verse 15, so the men packed Jacob's gifts and doubled the money, and they left with Benjamin. When they finally arrived in Egypt, I don't know how long the trip was, but when they arrived, they presented themselves to Joseph. And when Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he was small. Remember, he was in his 20s. Joseph, when he was sold and taken to Egypt, he was 17. You know, he was under the Pharaoh and helping with the Pharaoh, he was 30. So it had been 13 years. Around 20 years. So Benjamin, maybe he's 20, 24. And so when Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the manager of his household, says, "These men will eat with me this noon. Take them inside the palace, and then go slaughter an animal and prepare a big feast." So the man did as Joseph told him and took them into Joseph's palace. The brothers were terrified when they saw that they were being taken into Joseph's house. They were scared. Why? They were thinking it had to do with the money. You know, that was in their bags when they left the first time. It's because of the money someone put in our sacks the last time we were here. And they said, he plans to pretend that we stole it. So they were scared. Remember we discussed last week that Joseph was kind, you know, he was putting the money in the bag, and the brothers were scared. That, you know, the brothers thought that Joseph would have thought that they had done something to him. You know, sometimes I'm talking about when people do kind of things, sometimes those that are not saved might think that somebody's trying to do something sneaky. You know, so they were afraid of going into Joseph's house. And then he'll seize us and make us slaves and take our donkeys. And the brothers approached the manager of Joseph's house and spoke to him at the entrance of the palace. You know who the manager was, the household manager? It's like a butler, a person who is in control of the house, takes care of things. You know. So it's the same idea of what the household manager is. And they said, "Sir, We came to Egypt once before to buy food, but as we were returning home, we stopped for the night and opened our sacks. And we discovered that each man's money was put, the exact amount paid was in the top of the sack. And here it is. We have brought it back with us. We have also additional money to buy more food. We have no idea who put our money in our sacks. So they were scared, so they were trying to tell the man about it. So they were talking honestly. So I wonder if, if they had tried to be deceitful, if it would have made things worse. So verse 20 says, relax, don't be afraid. The household manager told them, your God, the God of your father, must have put this treasure in your sack. I know I received your payment. And then he released Simeon and brought him out to them. So now it says, the manager says, oh, the God of your father must have put this treasure in your sacks. Did God put the money in there? Talking about Joseph, maybe talking about God, and the manager overheard it and knew that it was his God working to provide. Well, Joseph, who put the money in the sack, really, God is in control, right? So God did it through someone. It's just like sometimes you pray, Lord, will you help me with something I need? Whatever it might be, maybe when I travel, can you help me? And God will help. How? Maybe he'll send somebody to happen to help give you a ride and bring you home. So God's used people to provide. Maybe you needed money for bills and God gives somebody the money to give to you. The household manager is an Egyptian. He said, your God and the God of your father. Doesn't say my or our God. Maybe the Egyptian doesn't believe right. Joseph told him. So Joseph, I don't know if he announced that he believed in God. Elohim, remember? Yeah, he did tell those people. He did the Egyptian news in respect to his place. It says, remember the man who was speaking, the missionary in Mexico? He was traveling and he needed gas and he was run out. And he filled it up. Got too close to it. What am I going to do? And the person behind him said, I got it. I'll pay for it. Yeah, that's God providing. Yeah, I remember I went to the store, grocery store, and I was buying groceries. Got up there with my buggy, and the woman says, it's already been paid for. I said, what? Who paid? And I looked behind me. Who paid for my groceries? I had a
Give it
And
there,
that's
give
when
it
we
there.
went to the
Yeah.
restaurant and somebody paid all of our bills, yep. God does bless us that way. Yeah, we just have to have faith and keep going. God's gonna answer and take care of us. Right. So verse 24, it says, the manager then led the men into Joseph's palace. And he gave them water to wash their feet and provide food for their donkeys. Why did he want to wash the feet? Long time ago, when they did that, it's because everybody had sandals. Right? And it was dusty. Jojo says, sit down and I'll wash your feet. Yeah, long time ago, it was dirt roads, feet got filthy, they stunk, they were dry. Yeah, they used to wash people's feet to make them feel better after traveling. Verse 25. The brothers were told they would be eating there, so they prepared their gifts for when Joseph arrived at noon. And when Joseph came home, they gave him the gifts they had brought him. Then they bowed low to the ground before him. And then after greeting them, he asked, "How is your father? The old man you spoke about, is he still alive?" He's seen Benjamin, yes. So they replied, "Yes, our father, your servant, is alive and well." And they bowed low again. Then Joseph looked at his brother, talking about this bowing down. Remember, it was Joseph's dream, it was fulfilled. And he told the brothers, "Oh, that you will bow down to me," and the brothers were insulted. So now that was true. So then Joseph looked at his brother, Benjamin, the son of his own mother. So his own mother. They were both brothers, not half-brothers. So Benjamin and Joseph, their mother's name, do you remember? Rachel. The other brothers, their mother was Leah, and the servants. But Benjamin and Joseph was Rachel's. So Joseph wanted to see his true brother. So Leah and the servant wife. It says, "Is this your youngest brother, the one you told me about?" And Joseph asked. May God be gracious to you, my son. He was really touched. He told him that, may God be gracious to you, my son. They didn't want, Joseph was making reference that the brothers wouldn't hurt him like they did Joseph. And Joseph hurried from the room because he was overcome with emotions. He went into a private room where he broke down and wept. After washing his face, he came back out and keeping himself under control, then he ordered, bring out the food. And the waiters served Joseph at his own table, and his brothers were served at a separate table. Why? Why were they split? Virus. That's funny. Because the Egyptians, it was their culture. They had a strong belief in their own gods. And people from other countries, not only Jewish people, but any foreigners, when they came, they shunned others because there was not a belief in the same gods. The Egyptians believed strongly in their superstitions. Superstitions, do you know what superstitions mean? It's kind of like, people believe if, a black cat walks under a under a ladder that's bad luck, or you walk on a crack in the sidewalk, something bad will happen to you, just those different kinds of things. They had a really strong belief in that, the Egyptians did. And so the Egyptians would not sit with others. It wouldn't mean that they would be mean to them, but their culture had a strong belief in that. Maybe it's not a good example, but black and white people were separated before, during segregation. That was not a good thing, but it's kind of that similar idea. Egyptians had that same idea because they just believed in sitting separately. So Benjamin sat with his brothers because Benjamin himself is Jewish. And one thing I forgot that I was studying, talking about culture, Egyptians had food, and their foods were the same, but understand that the foods that were how they prepared, they used Egyptian prep. They wouldn't accept food prepared or contaminated or used with other things. It was part of their superstition. So if you use, if you were going to cut a piece of meat with an Egyptian knife, that was fine, but if you used a knife from somewhere else, they wouldn't eat the food. Okay. Then the Egyptians who ate with Joseph sat at their own table, because Egyptians despised Hebrews and refused to eat with them. And then Joseph told each of his brothers where to sit, and to their amazement, and why were they amazed? Because Joseph told them where to sit, sat them each in their own chair. He followed their age, the oldest to the youngest. Joseph, that was the reason why they were amazed. How did you know who was the oldest to the youngest? You know, they didn't still suspect who Joseph was. They were, somebody was giving them information. They were not suspicious of Joseph yet. Yeah, you couldn't tell their ages. But he was exactly right. You know. How did he know? How did he have that known? So, Joseph knew from long ago what his brothers were. He knew their ages. And Joseph filled their plates with food from his own table, giving Benjamin 5 times as much as he gave the others. Meaning, he gave Benjamin a lot more, 5 times. The brothers, they all had their good sizes and portions, but Benjamin got 5 times. So the reason, it seems, Bible theology says that he gave Benjamin 5 times as much. He wanted to see what the brothers were going to be, how their reaction was, if he was going to be jealous. So he was watching their attitudes. They wanted, Joseph loved Benjamin, yes, because they were brothers. So they ate, feasted, and drank freely with him. Talking about Joseph. Well, we're so grateful, Lord, for the story that we can relate and understand how Jacob felt, frustrated, grieved, and then finally he had to surrender. He knew that going forward, he just had to trust you, and told them what to do and let them go. So Lord, we pray also for us, this lesson this evening, that sometimes, we're busy, worried, concerned, depressed, frustrated, angry, but we've got to let you take care of it and know that you're in control. And we trust you and take those next steps. It's exciting to see what will happen to the brothers and Jacob's family, and such a blessing. But it was a step and a process until the right time. Just like us. We have to learn to look to you, and everything is in your time.